What's the wildest cheating story you've witnessed or happened to you? Before we start with the first story, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 15. I knew a guy years ago who was a private investigator. Many times he was approached by a spouse who suspected their partner was cheating. He had a slam dunk strategy. He would suggest his client sign up for a course, whether a hobby thing or educational. The key was that the class would happen for a period of weeks, all on the same day of the week, and all at the same time of day. Then, while his client was in class, he would follow the spouse. Caught them every time. Number 14. A friend caught her husband cheating because he kept coming home smelling like ferrets. Hard to play off long day at work and explain that. When she found out at a holiday party that one of the young female coworkers owned ferrets, it all made sense. Number 13. I know a guy whose wife was cheating with his cousin. Also married, he finds out and decides to have everyone over for a supper. Halfway through supper, he looks his wife dead in the eyes and says, "I know you two are right in front of his affair partner and his wife too." She blew up and everyone got divorced. Affair partners never got together either. Number 12. My dad cheated on my mom with a coworker. She suspected him of an affair but didn't know for sure until he didn't come home one night. I remember walking into the kitchen the next morning and asking my mom where he was. I was only 10 to 11 years old, and she said, "He didn't come home last night." So she called in at work and he said he slept at friends because he had too much to drink. My mom called the friend's wife and she confirmed my dad was not there at all, and that's all my mom needed to know. It destroyed our family. My mom packed his and left it by the door. She got addicted to prescription pills afterward and tried to kill herself. She only lived because I found her and called 911. After that, she just left, took off, and dumped me and my sister with my dad, who was ill-equipped to raise two almost teenagers. So he met this super who was recently widowed. They got engaged, and before I knew it, I was living with her, and I had 6 stepbrothers and sisters. Things only got worse from there. I enlisted to get away from it all. Whole thing fucked me and my sister up pretty bad. Number 11. Girl said she was approved for some class in another really far city after her grades in college were too good. The boyfriend paid all her travel expenses and gave her his credit card for this trip to this specific event. When she arrives in another city, she calls saying she won't come back and will live with this guy she met online and had chatted with for months. Boyfriend went crazy to cancel the credit card he gave to her, found there was never any class, and she was almost expelled from the college because her grades were terrible. She just traveled to meet the other guy and still made boyfriend pay all her expenses. This happened about 15 years ago. I lost contact with her, but I remember she married the other guy. Number 10. I used to go to a comic shop, and the comic shop owner knew all of the gossip in the area. Nice dude, remembers all of his regulars and asks about you if he hasn't seen you in a while to check in on people. A lot of people in the area grew up with his shop, so he's got stories. Anyway, he told us about this story from some years back about this regular, who disappeared for a few months, comes back one day, and the shop owner asks him, "Hey man, haven't seen you in a while, kinda like where have you been?" The regular was like, "Oh, I've been getting divorced. I had to move." It was a whole thing. So naturally, the shop owner asks, "Why are you divorcing your wife?" The regular caught his wife cheating. He had picked up a second part-time job as a pizza delivery man because he was trying to fund to take his wife on her dream vacation. All of the money he earned from that job was supposed to go into that vacation. He had been working this job for like 6 months. It was a whole secret. She didn't know he was doing that for her, because he was trying to surprise her. He was the pizza delivery man at the motel. She was cheating on him. The dude she was cheating on him with answered the door with her right next to him. He apparently didn't even go back to the pizza place. He quit on the spot, went home, packed his shit and left town. Number 9. A guy I went to school with had been in a relationship for a few years with a girl in the year below. He left home and bought the house right next door to his parents. One day he came home and found his dad hanging out the back of his girlfriend. Number 8. A guy I know who was married with a kid and another on the way went over to Germany as a civilian contractor to the army. While in Germany, he had a fling and got the girl pregnant. He comes back to the States to his wife and doesn't mention it. The girl from Germany ended up calling their house and leaving a message telling my friend when their kid is due. Well, friend's wife hears the message first and completely hits the fan. They get divorced and he now has 2 kids by 2 different women that are 2 months apart in age. The wife ended up remarrying and is in a good place. I haven't talked to my friend in years. He met some girl online who was from the Philippines and went over there to be with her back in 2015, and I haven't heard from him since. I'm not sure what became of the German girl and his daughter. To a pause. Number 7. Just got home from deployment on an anniversary trip with my now ex-wife to Vegas. We go to a couple cirque shows, do some pay-go, get a very fancy dinner. The whole anniversary spared no expense experience. She was passed out drunk and her phone was blowing the with like 20 messages from an unsaved number. So I looked. They were very romantic and sexual messages and pictures. She had been texting him the whole night. Even while we were at dinner, she told him she wished he was there instead of me. She had been messaging him for months, my whole deployment basically. Well, I dug deeper and started reading other message chains. I found like 9 other affairs with both men and women. She was even a third in a throuple and caused the husband and wife to get divorced because she kept breaking the rules and f***ing the husband without the wife there / behind her back. Number 6. This happened in my village about 35 years ago, and it involved the best of friends who were a bit crazy. When one of the friends was going for the night shift at the local factory, the other would visit his wife. When the cheated husband suspected his wife of infidelity, he lied that he was going to the night shift both his friend and his wife to see what would happen. Of course, he caught his wife and the friend in the act. When the husband burst in, his friend leaped through the closed window completely naked, leaving behind his clothes and dirty underwear. The husband took those soiled underwear and put them in his pocket, and he kicked his wife out of the house. The next day, he went all around the village showing the underwear and telling everyone that his wife was unfaithful with a As the story spread throughout the village, it eventually reached the lover's family, who happened to be wealthy. His father and uncle went to the cheated husband and asked him to stop spreading the story. He agreed, but on the condition that they buy the underwear for a sum equivalent to about 1,000 euros in today's money. The story's epilogue is that the betrayed husband took his wife back, and they continue to live together to this day. They even had grandchildren. However, the friends never reconciled. Number 5. When I was 18, my girlfriend, who lived 100 miles away, came down to see me. Everything was fairly normal. She seemed a bit off maybe. Then after she left, I realized that I was 1 condom down than I had expected, which was a bit weird. Then the next weekend, she had a house party that she avoided inviting me to. Long story short, she f***ed the guy with a condom she took from me. She then proceeded to keep seeing him for about 6 months, whilst intensely gaslighting and lying to me. Still astonishes me 15 years later. Number 4. My high school sweetheart and I went off to college, different schools. While I was visiting, I was walking around the house to the front door. The window was open, and I overheard her talking to another high school guy friend of mine who is in college with her about how she doesn't know how to tell me she cheated. He caught her with a friend of his and was forcing her to fess up before he did. So that broke us up, needless to say. She begged me to forgive her. About 3 months later, I relented and had her visit me at my college. We went out that night. Food, drinks, and finally a house party. Before we were about to leave, I went up to a friend's room to grab a bag of cannabis from him. 15 minutes later, I came down, went out to the porch, looked to the left, and there she was making out with some random guy we hadn't even met before. She literally met him 2 minutes after I went upstairs. She cried all night. I was crying, laughing that she had so little self-control. I ended up having her sleep on the couch and she went home before I woke up. I haven't spoken since. That was about 20 years ago. Number 3. I was 32. She was cheating on me with her ex for like 6 months before I found out. The way I found out was she called me crying hysterically saying she him by accidentally running him over. I get all her belongings from the police and find all the evidence on her laptop with them screwing. An argument over me was what caused the running over. Police ruled it accidental, and she brags about it in bars to this day. She also ended up having a kid with a guy that had the same name as me and spells it exactly the same too. Edit. The way she ran him over was interesting too. Purposely at first, but he was alive under the tire, and she had a sudden change of heart. She jacked the car up using the car jack, but it slipped as she was attempting to pull him out. It was raining, and the car tire then crushed his ribcage and lungs, finishing him off. So technically he got ran over twice in the same night. Number 2. A family friend's husband was having an affair for 20 plus years, And that woman knew the entire time about his family. He was at her ranch one time and was bucked off a horse and broke his back. The affair partner called his wife to tell her and acted like everything about this situation was normal, and the wife had no reason to act all upset at the affair. Some people really just have no shame. Guy lived and made a complete recovery, left his mistress, and they stayed together since they were working on their relationship. He died a few years ago, and the wife finds out he never actually left his mistress, just lied. Number 1. My friend's mom was in a relationship with a guy for years and they ended up getting engaged and due to marry. The guy was a senior director of a company for which he traveled every week abroad for business. Eventually, the guy had a heart attack, and when my friend's mom turned up at the hospital, his wife and 2 kids were there also. Turned out he was already married with children and living a double life the whole time. When he went abroad for business, he was simply going back to his actual family. I honestly never understood how people can live those double lives. Hell, I'm exhausted just trying to keep up with my own life, it alone juggle 2 more. And that's all the 15 best stories. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your similar experience in the comment below. See you in the next video.